Hello everyone, welcome back to the Spring Boot CRUD tutorial series. In the last video, we successfully implemented the select operation to fetch employee data from the database. In today's video, we'll move one step further and learn how to perform the insert operation in Spring Boot. We'll create an API endpoint that allows us to add new employee records into the MySQL database using controller, service, and repository layers. Finally, we'll test the Insert API in Postman to make sure our data is stored successfully. Now let's write the code to insert a new employee record into our database. Inside the MyRepository class, I am creating a method called setData, employee EMP. First, I write in SQL insert query that maps all the columns of the employees table, such as employee ID, first name, last name, email, phone number, hire date, job ID, salary, department ID, and manager ID. In the JDBC-template.update method, we pass the SQL query along with all the values that need to be inserted into the table. Here, I am passing each field of the employee object one by one using getter methods like getEmployee_ID, getFirst_name, getLast_name, getEmail, getPhone_number, and so on. Each of these values corresponds directly to a placeholder in the SQL insert query. This way, the values from the employee object are dynamically mapped into the query, and a new row is inserted into the employees table whenever this method is executed. With this, our repository layer for the insert operation is ready. Now let's move to the service layer. Inside the MyService class, I've created a method called setData, employee EMP. In this method, I simply call the repository setData, EMP, function and return its result. This way, the service layer works as a bridge between the controller and the repository. Whenever the controller calls this method with an employee object, the service passes it down to the repository, which then executes the insert query and stores the data into the database. Now let's create the controller method to insert a new employee record into the database. Inside the MyController class, I've added a method mapped to the endpoint /addNewEmployee using the @PostMapping annotation. This method takes an employee object as input using the @RequestBody annotation. That means whenever we send JSON data from Postman or any client, it will automatically be mapped to the employee model. Next, I call the service layer's setData, EMP, method and store the result in a variable. Finally, I use a response entity to return a proper response. If the result is greater than 0, it means the insertion was successful, and we return a message saying new employee data added successfully. Otherwise, we return an internal server error message indicating something went wrong while inserting the record. With this, our insert API is fully implemented, and now we can test it in Postman by sending a post request with JSON data. Now let's move on to building and running our Spring Boot application. Now let's test our first API to make sure the application is running properly. The API responds with a plain text message "Hello World." This is our basic test endpoint. It confirms that the server is up, the controller mapping is working, and the application is responding correctly. Now, let's perform our first real database operation using a POST API. We have created an endpoint called /add_new_employee. This API accepts employee details in JSON format from the request body, and then inserts the data into the database. Great! Our API has responded with the message. New employee data added successfully. That means the POST request worked perfectly, and the employee information we provided in the request body has been inserted into the database without any issues. This confirms that our insert operation is functioning properly in our Spring Boot application. Now that we've successfully added a new employee using the POST API, let's verify it directly in MySQL. One thing to note, you might notice that the hire_date field is not added. If you know the reason why this happens, please share it in the comments section below. This step confirms that our insert operation is working in the application, and most of the data is correctly stored in the database. It's always a good practice to double-check the database after performing insertions, updates, or deletes. That's it for this video. We've successfully created the Insert API /add_new_employee, connected it with the service and repository layers, tested the API using Postman, verified that the data is stored in the MySQL database. One small note: if you notice that the hire_date field wasn't added, you can try debugging it or share your thoughts in the comments section. In the next video, we'll move forward and implement the update operation to modify existing employee records. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more Spring Boot CRUD tutorials.